Hello Williams class! For our English lesson today, the learning objective is, can I edit my writing and make it better? Now remember, we are looking at non-chronological reports. When we write something down, it is really important that other people can understand it. Otherwise, there'd be no point of writing what we are writing. Mistakes can make it really hard for other people to understand what we mean when we are writing. Missing word mistakes. In this sentence, some of the words have been missed out, so it doesn't make sense. Can you add words in so that it makes sense? Last week, I to the park. You would put, last week, I went to the park. Like that. Here is a picture of the park for you. Spelling mistakes here. Can you spot and correct the spelling mistakes in this sentence? They like going to the seaside. Have a go at correcting the mistakes for me. So it would be like this. They like going to the seaside. So the two spellings that you should have corrected would be they and it would be going. And here is a picture of two people at the seaside. What a lovely time they're having. Grammatical mistakes. Now, sometimes when we are writing, we choose the wrong words to go in the sentence. Can you spot the mistake in this sentence? They was having a good time. Grammar means when you say something out loud, it doesn't sound like it makes sense. So they was having a good time. Hopefully you're thinking in your head, that doesn't sound right. It's supposed to sound a different way. How is it meant to sound? Write in the corrections now. And if you wrote, they were having a good time, then you are absolutely correct, because the word was is just for singular words. So it would be, you would use was if you're using the pronoun he or she, like he was, she was. But then when you have the plural, when you have they, then you change the was into were. Both in the past tense, but you just have to look at grammar there. Grammatical mistakes one more time. So remember, when we're writing, sometimes we can choose the wrong words to go in the sentence. Can you spot the mistake in this sentence? I thought there was a full carton of milk in the fridge. What can you spot there as a mistake? If you said that the word there is wrong in that sentence, then you are right. The there here and the there here, now they are both what's known as homophones. I'll write that here for you just so you can see what I mean in spelling form. A homophone is when words sound the same, but they are spelt differently. So there, here, and there, here sound exactly the same, but they mean completely different things. There in this case means their uncle, their auntie, that's their pencil case, that's their, it's showing possession. Whereas there in the second sentence, which is where it's meant to be, tells you where something is. So you use the spelling in the second sentence rather than the spelling of there in the first sentence. They show different things, even though they sound exactly the same. Next one. Each of these sentences has a mistake in it. Can you spot them? Have a go at them yourself, and then we'll go through them together. Okay, so the first one then, let's have a look to see what the mistake here is. When I went to the farm, I saw a horse. So let's see if the mistakes that I come up with were ones that you come up with. So here, when is spelt incorrectly. I would make sure to have a H inside. When I went to the farm, I saw a horse. So I think horse is spelt incorrectly there. I would spell it H-O-R-S-E. Next one. She goed to the shops to butt some sweets. Interesting. So I would say, instead of goed, I would say she went to the shops to butt some sweets. No, thank you. To buy some sweets. Much better. There we go. Next one. It was sunny at beach. It was sunny at beach. I would include the article the. It was sunny at the beach. Last one. The car was red. It went very fast. What would you correct there? What I would do there is correct this homophone. Remember, a homophone is when words are, they sound the same, but they're spelled differently. So the car was red. I would change that. So I'm talking about the color of the car. The car was red and it went very fast. So you've changed it really nicely. The car was red and it went very fast. Today, we will be editing our non-chronological report innovation. Already, I'm going to edit this to make sure that it is spelled correctly. Editing our non-chronological report innovation, just like I've shown you how to do now. So remember, the editing skills we looked at previously. When editing our work, we should focus on the following few ideas. We should suggest ways to improve a sentence. So think of ways to make your sentences better. Could you include anything? Could you get rid of anything, like any spelling mistakes? You could change the different word classes. And remember that not all sentences need jazzing up. So if you find that you can't think of another word for in, for example, just keep it as it is, because some words just don't need changing. Now, here is our editing station, just to remind you what we look for when we are changing our work to make it better. You're looking at end of sentence punctuation. So instead of ending your sentences with a full stop, an exclamation, instead of ending your sentence with a full stop, you can end it with something more interesting. So you could end it with an exclamation mark, you can end it with a question mark. A tip for proofreading is to read through your writing and decide where one idea ends and another begins. When reading out loud, you can really decide where it would be best to take a breath, and then that's where you put a comma. Make sure that you have separated your writing into sentences. Which punctuation will you use at the end of each sentence? You can use a full stop, which is used if your sentence is not a question or an exclamation. It shows that your sentence is finished. You put a full stop at the end of a statement. For example, my house is over there. Many species of birds migrate. Slowly, he entered the cave. A full stop is the most common way to end a sentence. So most sentences that you would read in books or in the writing that you are writing, most sentences will end in a full stop, I think you'll find. You could also end your sentences with a question mark. So you use a question mark at the end of a question. For example, what time does the film start? Should he have opened the door? Why is the sky blue? Should I open the door? Are we lost? Asked James. Now remember, you still need to use end of sentence punctuation after an ellipsis. Ellipsis means dot, dot, dot. So when, for example, if I was to write something here, I'd write suddenly, suddenly, and then dot, dot, dot. The dot, dot, dot adds suspense. It makes the reader think, what happened? I need to know. But make sure that you do still use end of sentence punctuation. So what I mean by that is, if my sentence starts off with suddenly, he stopped, I wouldn't just leave my sentence like that. I would use end of sentence punctuation. I would use a full stop. I could even use an exclamation mark, not a question mark because it's not a question, but just make sure you are still remembering to end your sentence correctly, even if you've used the dot, 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 or the more technical word is ellipsis. Lastly, you could use an exclamation mark. So use an exclamation mark at the end of an exclamation. Now, an exclamation is when something is said with great feeling. It could be at the end of a command or when someone is shouting. So they could say, what a wonderful day, or how exciting, or stop, shouted the police officer. Exclamation marks are not used that often and only ever use one. So if you say, if my sentence is just hello, I would put just one exclamation mark. I wouldn't go crazy and do loads and loads and loads, because it seems funny to do that, boys and girls, but it doesn't make your work any neater. If anything, it just looks a little bit, not messy, but it takes away the meaning of just the one exclamation mark. Because I think one exclamation mark just looks a lot better and it gets the message across really clearly that you are shouting. Not really shouting like hello, but you're just saying hello instead of hello. So one exclamation mark is plenty. Now our editing station, remembering them, this is just the editing station done to a little bit more detail. Punctuation party, have a look for capital letters. So that should be at the start of sentences, and also for proper nouns. Now proper nouns are the names of places, people, things, some things like let me think of a thing that has a proper noun. Use a comma after fronted adverbials, full stops to finish sentences, question marks or exclamation marks if needed, numbers for the steps, and bullet points for lists. Then your editing station for spelling. Have a look for spellings that don't look right, check with an online dictionary, use your spelling words and vocabulary words, and a challenge is when you are writing, can you find all the words that you have misspelled? Because it can be quite tricky to find them, but just a little challenge there for you to try. Your editing station for spelling. Have a look for spellings that don't look right, check with an online dictionary, and use your spelling words and vocabulary words again. So the reason why I'm stressing to use your editing station for spelling in particular is because spelling is quite tricky to spot. Use your online dictionaries, use a dictionary that you might have in paper form. Don't stress yourself out too much about it, but just bear in mind that that is something that can easily be looked past. You can easily look at your work and think, my work is all fine. It's the spelling mistakes that sometimes we miss. So keep an extra close eye on that for me. Now let's read over our non-chronological report that we completed yesterday. So all of yours will obviously look different because you all completed yours individually at home and in school. So your tasks for today are as follows. Let me move my face. Task number 1, you're going to correct the paragraph below, and I'm going to read it to you now. Because they have such a good army, the Romans invaded many different countries. The army was used to protect Rome and to keep control over the people who they conquered. While they were in the army, the soldiers had to spend a lot of time away from their families. Now remember, when editing, use a different color to track your changes, so you can write your paragraph out in pencil, and then in another different colored pencil, you can edit and make changes to the paragraph, just so I can see very clearly where you've corrected it. And once you finish task number 1, task number 2 is to edit your writing, focus on spelling, tense, and punctuation and vocabulary. So look at your non-chronological report that you have written and make changes to your writing, make sure that you're looking at the spelling, make sure you've written in the correct tense, which is the past tense, make sure that you've ended your sentences properly, and that you've used good vocabulary. Then your final task, task 3, is to rewrite the final non-chronological report in neat, because now that you've made lots and lots of corrections on it, it is worth our while to finish or rewrite it so then you can see it neatly written and with all the corrections made on it as well. That is all from me for your English lesson for today, Williams class. Enjoy, stay safe, and I'll see you really, really soon. Bye!